Hey everybody, I hope everybody's doing well. We're going to go over the April data, dive into some of the numbers here, see what happened, go over what's kind of happening in the surrounding areas, some things to look out for, and then we'll finish up with some predictions leading into the May, which is generally one of the busiest months of the year in real estate. But we'll see what we come up with here. Okay, so on the left here, I've got just our monthly data, and on the right I've got the chart. So I thought maybe I'd try doing it side by side here so we can kind of bounce between a few things. Just going to jump this up here. Okay, so let's take a look through on the left here. So we had sales activity come in at 653, which is pretty much exactly where I expected it to come in. New listings even greater than what I thought. We ended up with over 1,500 new listings this month, which brought our current active listings to 2,891, which is up about just under 20% compared to 2024, and up, significantly compared to previous years. So that remains kind of the trend with inventory being very high. Sales to new listing ratio came in at 42.9%, so that fell a couple points. Months of inventory also fell, but mostly because this number climbed month over month there. Remember, we only had about 500, 508, I believe, sales last month. Where was that? Sales activity. 508, yeah. So, it was a significant increase in sales from last month, although still quite flat compared to previous years, right? It's a clear downward trend here, right? The only saving grace, if anything, is the last few years, the lows have been a bit on an upward trend in the winter. So it seems like we're kind of, if you were to draw a line this way and draw a line this way, seems like we're kind of condensing into a kind of a more stable, lower volume trend moving forward. What else we got in here? Average price did tick up ever so slightly. I believe we were 643 last month. So 643 ticked up to 654, but don't expect this to continue. It doesn't make sense. Okay. I expect this is going to fall pretty soon. It just doesn't make sense. It's going to keep going up based on the inventory and the demand metrics that we're seeing. Okay. What else do we've got here? Let's take a look at the active listings. You can see this is still on a sharp increase here. And if the sales activity continues on the trends we've seen, it's hard to envision us getting that number down. Keep in mind that April, May, sometimes June are usually the peak. So we could very well be looking at the peak here at 653. I do think it's going to go a bit higher in May, but not significantly higher. Last year, the peak was in May at 775, but then it was on a downward slope towards winter, as it always does. I expect that same thing's going to happen. We might see a bit of a higher month this month, but then I expect it's probably going to be on more of a downward slope as we go through the summer months and heading into fall and winter. It's crazy to think we're already in May. It's been a pretty underwhelming year from a volume standpoint, but it's not just us. I mean, Toronto is getting absolutely hammered right now. I'm going to take a look at some of the numbers coming out of Toronto here. Like their prices just fell 7%. Pretty much all red across the board here. I'm surprised they don't use red in these graphs, but pretty much every single category down double digits, with the exception of semi-detached sales were up slightly. And what was it? The townhouse pricing, I think, was up like almost 1%. But otherwise, pretty much everything down significantly. Pretty much any GTA realtor that I talk to or follow has kind of been saying this is it. Like we're in a free fall now. And again, what happens in Toronto generally foreshadows what happens in London. At least it did on the way up. Not that crazy to expect that on the way down that it could be similar. The main difference between London and Toronto is a lot of this stuff is going to be condo related. The GTA is very heavy on condo inventory, but even their detached product is falling. So it's not like one specific class of real estate is immune to fluctuation in price here, or regression in price, I should say. What else do we got? Honestly, not a lot this month. Bond yields are sitting around pretty much the same spot that the Bank of Canada interest rates at, so 2.75 more or less. We do have a interest rate announcement first week of June. So this past announcement, they decided to hold at 2.75. We'll see if what happens. I mean, we can definitely afford to go down still in terms of the inflation data, but and unemployment data, but who knows? Looking forward to this month in May, what do I got here? So I think personally what we're going to see, let's go back here. I think we are going to see sales better than April, so better than 653. However, I think it's going to be worse than May of last year at 774. So I'm anticipating sales activity in May to come in at around the 750 mark, which I think very well could be the peak for the year. On the listing side of things, I expect it to, not that one, new listings. I expect we're going to get very similar numbers to April. It's probably going to be around that 1,500 mark again. I don't think we're going to see it like shoot into like the 1,800, 2,000s. But I think we'll see probably around 1,500 listings in this month, which just quick math is a 2-to-1 list to sell ratio, which isn't the worst. I think the real thing to keep our eye on is the prices. I fully expect this number to tick back down, probably somewhere into the 640 range again after the end of this month. And then again, probably on a downward trend for the back half of the year. Usually you see the price appreciation in the first 6 months and then kind of regresses in the last 6. So I don't think we'll see that trend change. What else we got here? That's pretty much it. It's kind of a unexciting batch of data here this time around. The only thing that we might see, I'm going to make this tab bigger now just so this chart looks a little more spaced out. So if we go to the sales activity here, you can see how predictable it was year and year again, right? Got a little wonky in the COVID year here, but otherwise it has always been very predictable. We now have almost 3.5 years of data here. This could very well just be the new trend for the next 5 to 10 years. And if it is like this, it's really going to be more of a buyer's market than anything. Now, that being said, I know a lot of you are probably sitting there thinking right now, like, what are you talking about, Cody? Like, we've got multiple offers on all the properties that we're looking at. I mean, it's always going to be case by case, right? The entry level stuff will always remain high demand, right? If you've got a detached single family home or even a semi-detached home that's priced under 500 and it's not falling to pieces, it's probably going to be a hot product, right? There's just not a lot of stuff out there that checks all of those boxes. However, I still expect prices across the board will come down. The losses will be heaviest at the top as always. And that will put some pressure on the lower end stuff eventually, but not until inventory starts swelling past the point that we're currently seeing, which again is the highest it's been really since 2016. And I don't see this stopping anytime soon unless people start just removing their properties from the market, which is always a possibility. But I mean, I don't see it changing, really. I don't see any narrative that's kind of in the news cycles right now that points towards like the worst is behind us or anything like that. From a data metric standpoint, it only makes sense that inventory going up with sales activity remaining soft would lead to negative pressure on price. And I still am not convinced that we won't see that be surpassed, that 585 drop after the peak in 2022. Again, it's been up and down since that bottom there. I don't think it's impossible we see that dip back down in time. And I'm not saying it's going to just fall right through the floor, but over time, if that inventory remains high and the demand remains soft, it will cause negative pressure on price. I saw actually another agent on X there had that at the peak here, 208,000 transactions happened in that little blip there. And I mean, those transactions will eventually, I mean, we still got a couple of years here, but will eventually come up for renewal. And that's going to be a whole world of pain for people when it does happen, assuming that we don't somehow magically get back into that crazy time period in terms of pricing. And I mean, if it does continue to go down over the next couple of years, these people are going to be in some serious trouble for sure. But there's a lot of people in trouble right now. I mean, end of the day, if you're making profit in the market right now, you're never going to go broke taking profit. So if you're dealing with clients, or if you are a client that you're sitting there and you're looking at the difference between maybe $10,000 and $20,000 profit on maybe $100,000 total profit. I mean, it could be very well be a now or never type of scenario where those profits, you might just watch them kind of evaporate the longer you wait out. A lot of people will commonly say, especially early on in the listing process, I'm not in a rush to sell. I mean, people always say that, right? But then what happens when this starts happening, right? Well, at what point do we say, okay, just kidding, we're in a rush? Because that was a huge amount of money lost right there in 12 months' time, right? And if somebody priced correctly, like early, they would have mitigated so much loss there. And I think that's likely going to happen here moving forward. I think we'll continue to see prices slip. That being said, transactions will always still happen. There's always going to be people who need to move for one reason or another, whether it's they got a new job, the family's growing, the family's grown up and people need to downsize, or medical issues, or divorces, family changes, things like that. Those all happen time and time and time and time again. And so for that reason, the market will never come to a screeching halt, in my opinion. You're always going to have some kind of level of sales activity month over month. It's just a matter of how high on the choice side of things, on the new listing, or on the, I should say, active listing side of things, how much choice will buyers get? Because the more choice they get, the more months of inventory we have. Again, it did tick down this month with sales activity going up, but clear indication that we're seeing higher and higher levels of inventory, right? It only makes sense prices will come down. So hopefully that helps, guys. If anybody has any questions, feel free to reach out. Always happy to chat or brainstorm. And we will see you guys in about a month. Take care.